Now, it's Everything is Golden
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Here is your host, James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Welcome, my friends, to another edition of Everything is Golden, and glad to be with you. We have a special guest today, one of my dearest friends on the planet. He is also one of the most incredible pollsters in the world. The name of his organization is Technometrica. They do all kind. I'll let him explain to you what they do. Raghavan Mayur, I call him Mayur, his last name. Mayur, welcome. How are you?
Thank you very much, sir. I'm honored to be with you. This is my first time doing it with you. I hope we have a good conversation.
I'm sure we will. Let's start from this, Mayur. I met you because I was intrigued by the work that your organization does with polling. You have been one of the huge success stories when it comes to political polling. I know that's not all that you do, so I want you to explain to the audience what you do, what Technometrica is, but you have been right. You are one of the few that when it comes to, how many presidential cycles have you been working?
We've been working for 6 presidential cycles, of which we got the most accurate in 5 of them.
Right. And that's when your trend was building, when you have like you were right in 3, especially one that no one else got. There was one of the cycles, I believe it was one of the Bush cycles. Everybody was wrong except for you.
No, that was not. That was Trump in 2016.
2016.
Trump first victory in 2016. There were 19 pollsters. Out of that, 2 got it right that Trump would win. I was one of them.
Okay, and that's what. But we had talked long before then, because we go back through to the Bush cycle, where you also called. Well, you had called everything right for many cycles in a row. So I want to talk to you about polling, but first tell people what it is that you do, rather than me try to explain it.
So we are a full-service survey research, market research, opinion research firm. And we've been in business since 1994. So that's about 30 years now. And we have distinguished ourselves in the area of polling, having been the most accurate pollster in the past 5 presidential cycles. To the extent that nowadays I have stolen Russia's tagline, on loan from
talent on loan from God.
Yeah. I'm very highly spiritual, and so.
Yeah.
There is nothing special about me. I just I am blessed by God.
Well, and you do good work, and that is also part of the blessing. Your work is just amazing, which is why I called you, because I wanted to know why you got it right so often. And those questions are still here for a lot of people. We are bombarded with polls. Every day there's a new poll, and these polls are all over the place. So I'd like you to walk people through, Mayur, what makes a good poll? What is it that, when you see a poll, what should you be asking yourself, whether I should believe this poll or not?
So one thing is certain in the modern days is that no race is going to be very wide, okay? So, and also the second thing that you want to keep in mind is when people see a poll, a national poll, where, say, Biden or Harris is up by 2 points or 3 points, they think Trump is losing. That's not true, because Trump can lose by about 4 to 4.5 points on the national level, but still can carry the Electoral College. Okay, that's the most important. That's the most important thing that you should know, because the safe zone is up to 4.5 points. Okay, on the national, because by the virtue of the fact that California, the two large states, California and New York, they both are Democratic. Okay. And on the Republican side, you have only Texas that can counterbalance that in terms of, they have two states. On the Republican side, only one state. So naturally, a national poll that is representative of the country you would expect to see slightly slightly favoring the Democratic candidate.
Okay, so let me just stop you there. So when you look at polls that are national polls, as you say, and even if you're at 4 points difference, doesn't necessarily mean for people that are looking the Donald Trump fans, the Donald Trump voters. They shouldn't be necessarily discouraged, because it doesn't mean that he is going to lose the election.
Exactly.
And I'm assuming, Mayur, that's if the poll is accurate in the first place.
That's also true. But let me give you an example. Okay, in 2020, Biden won the popular vote by 4 points. Okay, but had Trump won about 50,000 votes in key states, he would have taken it.
I'm Livy Dunn, All-American gymnast and Viore athlete. When you travel and train as much as I do, you find happiness where you are. On the mat or on the sand, movement and comfort are essential. That's why I live in Performance Joggers by Viore. Made from DreamNet fabric that's made of 89% recycled materials, effortlessly soft and made to move as much as I do. My happiness starts here, in the softest joggers on the planet. Get 20% off your first purchase at viore.com/Livy. That's VUORI.com/LIVVY. Exclusions apply. Not only will you receive 20% off your first purchase, but enjoy free shipping on any U.S. orders over $75 and free returns. Go to viore.com/Livy and discover the full versatility of Viore clothing. Exclusions apply. Visit the website for full terms and conditions.
That brings us to this discussion about the swing states.
Yes, sir.
The states where everything is. Now, there usually are about 7 states that it is said will decide the fate of the election. We know among them, we're looking at Georgia, we're looking at Pennsylvania. What are some of the other states that people should pay attention to?
So the real battlegrounds where everything is tooth and nail is Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Okay. Then you have the second tier, which is Georgia, North Carolina, Nevada, and Arizona. Those 4 have, they tend to favor Trump, I would say. Like, for example, I won't lose my sleep about North Carolina. Okay. Trump, even though it is a battleground state, Trump, you got to keep in mind, Trump is running pretty solid now in terms of the last 3 elections. I mean, since 2016, he's much more disciplined. He has a track record to run on. Okay. So I would expect, in 2020, there was no problem for him to win in North Carolina. I don't see a problem because he is much stronger now, and he is running against a much weaker candidate as well. Like today, I published an editorial about Wisconsin.
Okay.
So I completed a poll last Thursday for a online publication called American Greatness, and in that poll, Trump and Harris are tied neck to neck, tied exactly at 47 head-to-head matchup. Okay, and when you add the third-party candidates, it's +2 for Harris, or very within the margin of error. Okay. I know that the results are solid for Trump because, just to give you an example, in 2020, the final polling on battleground polling showed that Biden would carry Wisconsin with 6.5 points lead. Okay, but on the election day, it turned out that he eked out only 0.7%. 0.7% is 1/10 of 6.7%. So what I'm trying to say is Biden underperformed and Trump overperformed better than the polls. Okay.
Now, so Harris. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your point.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. That's what I wanted to make.
Well, Harris is riding a wave of euphoria right now. And when you look at the polls that have been released in the past 2 weeks, all of a sudden, Donald Trump is said to have lost a lot of ground in, as you've defined it, the first tier and the second tier battleground states. You're saying North Carolina, nothing to worry about there. He's still polling well. Wisconsin always. What are you looking at in polling in Wisconsin right now?
So the Wisconsin, what makes me think that Trump will carry Wisconsin is 4 different things. Okay, one, if 60% of Wisconsin voters say that they are worse off than 4 years ago.
Wow.
Okay, that's a big deal. Okay, and the second thing is I tested 7 different issues to see, regardless of who they are going to vote, who they think is better on that issue. Okay, like the issues included economy, immigration, crime, reducing the deficit, reducing taxes, growing the economy, and stuff like that. Okay. Now, the 2 key important issues I'm saying for this election cycle, the 3 key important issues are the economy, immigration, and crime. Okay, generally speaking, I'm saying. Now, if you see the Democrats, for many of them, abortion is also an important issue, abortion and climate change, okay? But the independents, they tend to be more closer to Republicans than Democrats, okay? Now, coming back, where I was telling you why I feel confident about Wisconsin. The first reason I told you was 60% of people in Wisconsin say that they are worse off than what they were 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The second reason I feel is that of the 8 issues, Trump does better than Harris in all the 8 that I tested. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the third reason is that it's not only that he does better among everybody, but he also does better among the key group of people, the independents. Okay. So that makes me that makes me feel good about it, And he's running such a tight race. And then the other thing, the fourth reason is what I told you about the polling in Wisconsin, the experience from 2020, where, the pollsters thought that Biden is going to carry Wisconsin with 6.7 percentage points, but when he actually carried it with 0.7. Okay, so the polls tend to underestimate Trump in Wisconsin.
Now, I want to get into sort of the weeds with polling for a minute and have you just please explain a few things to people.
Okay.
When you look at a poll in the newspaper, I don't care who the poll is from, and they say that this poll is with X number of voters, and they say registered voters. And then another poll says they have a poll with likely voters. Which poll do you think people should pay more attention to? The one with registered voters or likely voters, and why?
Well, I would pay attention to both, okay? But the reason is everything has got information, okay? Now, I want to explain to you the underlying phenomena, okay? So what happens is, say, for example, the election is in November, okay? And in March, you're doing a poll, and you're looking at only likely voters, okay? I feel that is inherently weak, because given that the election is 6 months from now, you cannot predict who is going to vote and who is not going to vote. You understand what I mean? So what I mean is that the likely voter becomes more relevant as the time period shrinks or as you get more closer to the election.
Right.
For example,
if we're now within a 3-month window, a 2-month window, and people are saying to you, I'm likely to vote this time, that's when you should start paying attention to likely voters.
Yeah, exactly. Or the models. So for example, Technometrica has 3 different models, okay, to predict who is going to be a likely voter, okay? So basically, they're all designed to objectively measure the enthusiasm you're going to have on the election day to get up from your bed and go and vote. You get what I mean?
Yep.
It's an art, and the thing is that it's something that doesn't change very quickly from every season. Like, for example, we've been using the similar models for the past 5 election seasons. Okay, little bit of tweaking here and there. That's about it. But they can stand. That's my secret recipe, if you will. Okay?
Got it. The secret sauce.
Yeah, that's a secret sauce, because what happens there is that if your likely voter model is too tight, okay, then you're going to miss out people who are going to show up. Okay, and if you're going to be too loose with your likely voter model, what happens is that people who won't show up are in your model, in your sample. You get what I mean? So
yes,
you got to be optimal in kind of and accurate in terms of predicting who is going to show up and who's not going to show up.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the word enthusiasm. Let's look, since Biden was thrown under the bus by his own party and asked to please get out and go away, and Kamala Harris is in, as I mentioned earlier, there is euphoria among Democrats. David Axelrod, just this week, the former Obama campaign wizard, suggested, similar to what you did, look, folks, this wave of enthusiasm isn't enough to sustain it. And right now he's warning that Trump is still a very fierce competitor and that the election is going to be tight. How much does all this enthusiasm that we see, and how do we see the enthusiasm, by the way? We see the enthusiasm as it's projected to us from the media and the stories that say people are really enthused. People are enthused about this and that. Where do you see the enthusiasm difference coming in between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris right now?
Yeah, so there is some truth to the whole thing, and there's a lot of exaggeration, okay, as well, okay. Let me tell you what the truth is, okay. The truth is that there were people who had given up on Biden, even though they were Democrats or even though they were inclined. Like, for example, many of the young people, for example, okay, like my children, for example, they would tell me, hey, Dad, I'm not going to, they voted Biden last time. But they would tell me that in their sane mind, in their good conscience, they cannot vote for Biden. Okay. Now, these type of people who might have been Biden, who are typically tend to gravitate to Democratic column, who had abandoned the Democrats, they are returning back. Okay, that's why I call it a relief rally. Okay, so there are not many people like that, but that's why I said there is a little bit of truth there. Okay, but they are very limited, and they are mostly Democrats who had exited. They're not independents. Get what I mean?
Aha, right.
So that's where the real fight is. So these are people who are returning home. They had given up on Biden, saying that this guy is, in my good conscience, I cannot vote for him, even though I'm a Democrat. Okay? Now they're saying, at least there is somebody...
So even at best, if I'm hearing you right, even at best, what the Democrats are looking at with all this enthusiasm would be into what we saw at near the end of 2020, still a very tight race. The Democrats have come back home. The Republicans, unless you tell me otherwise, haven't left Donald Trump. The number of Republicans that support him, they're still supporting him. So at best, you're saying it's kind of a wash. We're back to a tight election where we would have been if Biden was still as popular.
Yeah, you are right. And there is also one other dynamic, okay, which has not come to the fore, and the media won't talk about it or anything like that, okay? There is about a third of Democrats who are dissatisfied with how they went about selecting Harris.
A third? That many?
Yes. These are the grassroots Democrats, okay? They are very unhappy, okay? And they tend to be more like the blue dog Democrats. They're more moderate and more conservative. They think that, basically, you got to keep in mind, Kamala Harris was the most liberal senator. She is left of Bernie Sanders, okay? Now, you anoint her without any selection process. She has never gotten a single vote in a primary. She is not ever being vetted properly, okay? This is almost like a coronation, right? So so within the Democratic Party, there is, and they feel somewhat, they may, a large number of them may end up voting for her, but many of them may not. I don't know how that will break.
Well, let me put it to you like this. Let me tell you what my gut tells me, and I have nothing to back this up. My gut tells me that most of them, as you said, will end up voting for her because the passion against Trump is so strong among Democrats that if she's the only alternative, that's who they'll go for, even if they don't like her. They'll hold their nose and vote for her, the phrase hold the nose, like many Republicans did when John McCain was running. There were a lot of conservative Republicans that really disliked John McCain intensely and were unsatisfied with him as the Republican candidate when he ran against Obama. But given the choice of McCain and Obama, I'll go in the poll, hold my nose, and pull the plug for this guy that I don't like anyway. Do you see that kind of phenomenon happening?
I'm not able to predict there, but I do think that this is a historic new situation. Okay, you have never had any of these people that you're mentioning have never been so far left or full. You get what I mean? What is the tolerance level of these? Among these 1/3 people, even if you can chip off 5-6% and get them to vote for Kennedy, or somebody else, that helps Trump.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now,
so these are. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Here's what I want to do, because we're going to be out of time shortly. What I'd like to do is have you back, and let's carry a discussion through we're now narrowing in on the window. So let's talk from time to time. But I also want to do some digging into the Senate and where you think the House might go. The Senate, when we talk next, I'd love to get your idea on whether some of these issues, you mentioned the abortion issue. I really do want to focus in on that for a moment because Democrats are actually leaning into this issue very heavily. In fact, Mayur, there was Planned Parenthood is at the convention offering, believe it or not, free abortions to people. It is something that you saw the truck. Yep.
I saw the picture of a truck, in the parking lot.
And that's what they have. They have a mobile abortion center set up at their convention. Mm-hmm. I just think it's very poor optics. I think it's disgusting that this issue of life is being handled in such a way by the Democrat Party. But I want to talk with you later about and dive in to whether this may not be the defining issue for national as it is for Democrats. I understand it's a great issue for Democrats, but there are no minds being changed here. People have made their minds up about this issue a long time ago. At least that's the way I view it. But so I want to, talk about that in depth as we get a little bit closer to the election and see whether that will be a savior issue for Kamala Harris.
Will do. Anytime,
okay.
Sir.
All right.
I'm honored to be with you, and anytime, let me know, okay?
Thank you, Mayur. Ladies and gentlemen, Raghavan Mayur, who is just an amazing pollster. And we are, as I said, bombarded with polls day in, day out. The track record that he has, accurate in the last 5 presidential cycles, called it, is unheralded. It's just an amazing track record. So I think that a lot of attention should be paid. I know I pay attention to what Mayur says, and a lot of the polls that I see, I do not pay attention to. I want to talk to him in the future about what a push poll is, so you'll know how to recognize a push poll, polls that are designed to push you into believing something, and why those push polls exist. So we're very fortunate to have Raghavan Mayur as a guest, and we will be speaking with him in the future. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please let us know. If you have questions, you can also let us know. You can hit me up on Twitter all the time. I'm there. Or you can, we'll find a way. I got to get an email address where people can reach me here at an open email address where people can reach me with questions. Anyway, we'll figure all that out. James Golden, everything is golden. Thank you for being here, my friends. We look forward to catching with you the next time. Bye.